Alright, in this lesson we're looking at algebraic fractions again, and we're looking at how to multiply them and divide them. Alright, nice and simply, any kind of fraction will start really simple with numbers only. If we have just simple numbers in fractions, all we have to do to multiply them, it's nice and simple. We say, alright, let's multiply the numerators together, so 2 times 12, and that will be divided by a denominator that is these two times together as well, right? So 2 times 12 is 24, divided by 6 times 3, which is 18, and if we simplify that down, we know they have a common factor of 6, which will make this 4 over 3. So that is our final answer there. So what I need you to concentrate here is that this actually takes quite a few steps, and it gets us to quite a large fraction that we need to simplify it down. We can practice by cross-cancelling, and it's a kind of a shortcut method. So I'm going to write OR here, and we're going to teach you the cross-cancelling method. Right, exact same expression here. So we would have to say, right, 2 over 6 times 12 over 3. I'm just going to focus this, sorry guys. Alright, exactly the same expression. Now let's try and speed this up a little bit by saying, okay, this numerator over here is across from a 6, that is a denominator, and we know that 6 is actually a factor of 12. So we can cancel this out. Let's say we divide each of these by 6. So we're going to say, right, 6 divided 6 gives us 1, and 12 divided 6 gives us 2. Now these two across from one another, the numerator and the denominator, they don't really have much in common, so we can't do anything with them, but we have simplified these two. They are smaller numbers, easier to work with. So what we are left with here is 2 over 1 times 2 over 3. Now that's going to make this much easier, so we can say 2 times 2 is 4 and 1 times 3 is 3. Now we come to the exact same answer, but we've used our cross-cancelling to make a bit of a shortcut and make things a bit easier for us. Now that might not seem like a lot of a shortcut right now, but when you start to get to bigger expressions, it will make a lot more sense. Let's have a look at this one here. It is an algebraic expression, and we are multiplying these all together. We'll do it our two separate ways again. Alright, so our first step would be multiplying the numerators together and then our denominators together. Right, 8x times 12x, 8 times 12 is 96, and we're going to have an x squared term there. 4 times x is 4x. Alright, so now we have to think, once again, just like we cancelled in our previous video, we have to go, alright, we need to work with our numbers and we need to work with our letters. 96 is a pretty big one. Okay, 96 divided 4 is actually 24, and x squared divided x gives us x. Now, instead of working with such big numbers, let's try it our other way. So 8x over 4 times 12x over x. Let's see if we can cross-cancel anything. We've got a 4 and a 12. We know that 4 is a factor of 12, so we can cross that out and say we're going to divide each by 4. That's going to give us 3. We now have an x term here and an x term there, so we can actually divide each of these by x, go 1 and 1. That's going to leave us with 8 over 1. And 3 over 1. No, I lie. I'm sorry. I'm crazy. Right, sorry, we all make mistakes. I've figured my mistake out. I have not carried the x down here, so I'm going to put that in here. Now that makes a bit more sense to me. Okay, so we've got 3x left over here, and we've still got 1 in the bottom. Okay, so now we're going to multiply it all by the numerators together and the denominators together. So we're going to end up with 1 on the bottom, and 8 times 3x is 24x, so that just means 24x, and we're getting the same answer again. Okay, let's try this time. We have to talk a little bit about division, and division is a little bit harder because it's not quite as simple as the multiplication. So let's have a think about if I had 10 apples, right, 10 apples, and I'm going to divide it into 2, so to 2 groups. I'm going to get 5 apples each group, right? If I have 10 apples and I'm going to divide it by a half this time, which means I am going to cut them all in half, I am going to end up with 20 halves. Now we know 20 and 10, the relationship there can also look like this. 10 times 2 equals 20. And we also know that whole numbers, when they are whole, they're actually still a fraction divided by 1. So if you can see a relationship between these two, what you would see is that if we divide by a fraction, what we do is multiply by its reciprocal, if we flip it upside down. So the rule for that is A divide B divided by C divide D is actually the same as if we keep our first fraction the same and flip our second one and multiply. That's a rule you learnt many years ago as well. You're probably a bit rusty with it. So let's try and apply it this time to an algebraic fraction. We have this one here. It's got a divide sign between it. So the first thing we should do is keep our first one exactly the same and flip our second one. Okay, so our numerator is now our denominator and vice versa. Now it's just a normal multiplication one, and we've already tried them. So what we need to do is find some things to cross cancel. Can we find any things that are the same in these two? Not really, they don't look very compatible there. This one here, however, we know that 2 fits into 6 3 times. So let's divide each one by 2. So we're going to end up with 1 here and 3 there. So what we're left with here is 1 on 3 times 8x on 3. All right, so we can multiply that all together now. So 1 times 8x on 3 times 3, which is 8x divided by 9. So that is our final answer, and that is as far as we can go. Right, 2 skills there, a little bit complicated. It will take a bit of practice. It took me a little bit of practice as well. So we can do it our long way or our cross-cancelling way, and our cross-cancelling way is going to set us up for making our algebraic fractions a lot easier.